shiny object syndrome. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever, you probably have come into contact with this really annoying thing that seems like it's helpful until it's not. You're currently working on something, it's going pretty decently, but you know it takes time. But then you find this other entrepreneur that's on Threads or Instagram or YouTube telling you, hey, this is the path to greatness. You will do, it's so easy, you do this one thing, you're gonna get $1 billion tomorrow. There's some new tool, some new strategy that you hear about and you go, man, this is it. This could be the one thing until it's not. You devote time, money, and energy into it, it doesn't work out, and then you're back to plan A once again. The funny thing is, we all go through it, especially I think it's true because of social media today. There's so many different entrepreneurs, gurus, people telling you, hey, this is the right platform to be on. You should be on Instagram, you should be on YouTube, you should do webinars, you should not do webinars. There's so many options out there. And because of so many options and so many people telling you what you should and shouldn't do, you test out a lot of stuff. But when you do that, you start to get away from what you set out to do in the first place. So in this video, I'm gonna try to break down to you how to avoid shiny object syndrome so you can actually stay focused and over the long term, over the long haul, actually get to your goals using your methodology, which by the way, I know that you know, that I know, that we know it's the right move to go anyway. Now, before we get there though, do me a huge solid, hit the like button and subscribe if this is the kind of content you like. Helps out the channel, makes it look good, appreciate you. So recently I'm talking to someone that asked me this question. How do I stay focused, Raylen, on my goals and what I'm trying to do and not ultimately get affected by shiny object syndrome? Well, I asked her, well, can you give me more specifics of what we got going on in your business right now and what's happening? She said, well, I'm trying to learn this new software. I'm gonna leave the software out of it, but I'm learning this new software because I'm gonna package it up and I'm gonna sell it and I'm going to build this software for other people. And I'm gonna charge a certain amount of money for it. It's gonna be great. This is what everyone's doing today is white labeling softwares. I think this is the way to go. So I asked her, what are you doing currently? She said, well, I'm doing social media. I think it's a good kind of lead into everything else. I focus on social media, then I can kind of fix the back end of their business. Makes sense, which by the way, I think it does make sense. It's a pretty good plan. But I asked her this one question. I said, what is the revenue goal? Give me a random number. It doesn't have to be the exact number you want, but what do you want? She goes, I want $50,000. I go, all right. So I'm going to give you, pretend I'm a potential client, I'm gonna give you $50,000, but you can only have it helping me in one way, social media or helping me build this software. Which one would you take the $50,000 for? And without really even thinking, she said immediately almost, social media. I asked her why. She's like, well, I love doing it. I really obsess about the strategy behind social media. I love making content for other people. I love helping people make content for other people. And so the reason I asked this question, and I think this is something, if you're struggling with this shiny object syndrome as well, it points out a very important thing of what actually do you want? And this is the first step in actually getting rid of shiny object syndrome is knowing exactly what you want. You see, in this situation, the other thing that she was learning and spending tons of time, money, and energy to understand and learn and dive into it and master. Well, she could have just reallocated those resources towards social media and probably would have been better off. She liked it better anyway. She enjoyed doing social media, but the idea of doing something that maybe seems more easy to her kind of caught her up, right? And that's why she started diving into it. And so what she really wanted was not just to make $50,000. She wanted to make $50,000 doing social media for other people. And so now that that's really clear to her, she now can reallocate, like I said, those resources, that time, money, and energy into doing something and mastering that one thing she wants to be known for, and that one thing she really enjoys. So the first step in getting rid of shiny object syndrome is ultimately to know exactly what you want. It's really easy to get distracted today, like I mentioned earlier. You're on social media, you see somebody making money a certain way and you go, man, maybe that would be easier than what I'm doing currently. What you don't realize is how much goes behind the scenes of that, like how much time, money, and energy they invested in getting really good at that thing. It's not ever as easy as it seems. And to be quite honest, neither does being really clear on what you want. In order to do that, I kind of stole this from this guy named Keith Cunningham. He wrote a book called Road Less Stupid. But in the Road Less Stupid, he talks about how he uses this thing called thinking time. He just sits down for about an hour every single day, no phones, no distractions. He makes sure he uses the same exact pen every time, the same notebook. He doesn't want any distractions, and he just kind of thinks about a certain problem. Well, in this case, we're gonna be thinking about what it is that you want. What ultimately does that look like? What does that feel like? Be incredibly clear, and don't just say, I want $50,000, $100,000, $1 million. Be really, really clear on what that looks like. How do you want that $100 million? Meaning like, not $100 million, that's an absorber. If that's your goal, that's cool, but let's just be more, let's break it down a little bit more. How about $100,000? Let's say you want $100,000 in your business this year. That's great, but does it matter how that comes to you? Or do you want to do it in a certain offer? Be very, very clear here, because obviously if other things come around your table and it doesn't fit into that, and ultimately how you feel doing it doesn't fit, then ultimately you don't do it. It's a really easy way to kind of create some roadblocks around shiny object syndrome. Now, I mentioned obviously getting really clear on what you want, and I obviously mentioned how you think that's gonna come. The other part of it though is who are the type of clients you wanna work with in order to get to that goal. What do you wanna be doing? And let's say you don't have a business, that's okay. Even if you're working 9 to 5, what kind of boss do you wanna have? What kind of clients, what kind of industry you wanna be in? Because again, not all money is created equal. It is possible to create a very lucrative business, but hate doing it. A really good example, if you're new to the channel and you've never heard this before, that's okay. If you've been around for a while, you've heard me talk about this, but I accidentally grew a multiple 6-figure social media agency on accident. And the type of clients that I was getting, I didn't really enjoy working with. And I didn't really enjoy the project management of creating an agency. And so yes, I made money, I hit my goal, but how it came wasn't really what I was looking for anyway. Now, the second part to making sure that you avoid shiny object syndrome is you're gonna need alignment. What most people lack, and the reason why people don't get what they want ultimately, is because what they want and their behaviors are not aligned. We want them to be a little bit more like this, and then it stacks, and you actually get the results that you want. So how do you stay in alignment? Well, now that we know exactly what we want, we have the plan, we have the strategy and how we're gonna get there, right? The right client that we want, the methodology we're gonna be using. You can't give up on something in like a month, right? Or 2 or whatever. What we're looking for is constant improvement in a certain area and make sure our behaviors are aligned with what we want. So for example, one of the things that I want is to grow this YouTube channel, not just for my business, although that is a part of it. The other thing is it's an expression for me. It's a way for me to actually express myself creatively and kind of get some things out. Now, for example, I want to grow on YouTube, but I don't make content. That's not being in alignment. Now, I'm not going to see the results that I want on YouTube. And then when someone walks around and says, man, I grew my business all on Instagram, I may be tempted to go over to the dark side of Instagram and start making stuff over there. When, if I just focused on my behaviors that align with what I want, I may actually get better outcomes, and it helps me stay focused. So step number 2 is alignment. Get very clear on what behaviors you're going to do each and every day, every week, every quarter, whatever you measure by, and stick to it. Stick to it. And step number 3 is the most important aspect of this, is measure backward. So it's really easy today, again, because of social media, to compare ourselves to others. We look at our YouTube channels and you look at somebody else and you go, man, they're making content on X, maybe I should make content on that. Maybe I would grow too. We look at other business types and we go, man, people are making money white labeling software. I should probably go do that too, and I'll probably make more money. The problem with that is when we compare ourselves to others, it doesn't really work out for us. We have to compare ourselves to ourselves just a bit ago. The other part of this is it comes from a book called Gap in the Gain by Dan Sullivan, Dr. Benjamin Hardy. In the book, they talk about when you're in the gap, right? You are looking at yourself today to future you. Everyone has goals. There's nothing wrong with having goals. And let's say having a 7-figure business is your goal. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is what people do is once they hit 7 figures, they push the goal back. Well, this month I wanted to hit 100 grand and I hit 100 grand. So now the next month is gonna be 110 and 120 and 130. And you never actually get the benefits of achieving a goal because you're always pushing that back. He compares it to walking and looking at the horizon and then making a goal of walking to the horizon while the horizon always moves. It's not reality. It's a fictitious destination. And that's ultimately what your goals really are, is a fictitious place that you assume one day you will get to, which you will. The problem is when you're constantly measuring against that, you're always losing. You're never gonna be better than the goal. That's why it's the goal. So what do you do instead? You have a goal and you maybe check in with that every quarter or once a year to make sure you're on the right path. But for the most part, you measure backwards. Instead of looking at it and going, well, my next goal is $100,000 in a month. This month, I made 10 grand. I suck. You measure backwards. Well, 2 months ago, I was making $1,000 a month. I'm crushing it. I just have to keep going, right? I have to keep looking for opportunities in my business, keep growing, but for the most part, I'm doing better than I was before. That gives you the motivation to continue and keep going and do what's really important. It's not comparing ourselves to other people. It avoids the shiny object syndrome because really you're in the gap. You feel like there's a hole missing in your business or in your life or whatever, and you try to fill that gap with what other people are doing, hence the shininess of it, right? Like, ooh, that will work for me better than what I'm doing. When in reality, you just need to extend how far out you're really looking and measure backwards instead of just constantly looking forwards. At the end of the day, your success is gonna come. And if you are completely off, you will figure that out and you will find other ways to do it. But the truth of the matter is, if you continue to bounce around, you're never gonna get there. Which then brings me to this kind of final point we'll wrap up here. The reason why shiny object syndrome is so detrimental to our personal lives, our businesses, everything in between, is because it avoids the one thing we need to do to grow a business and to be better, healthier, happier individuals is mastery. Unfortunately, there is no shortcuts to success, not that I know of. And people that claim that there are, most of the time, honestly, are full of shit. Their, way of doing things isn't going to blow up your business and change your entire life, most likely. I'm sure there's some out there. I'm not trying to, poo-poo anybody's dreams here. But for the most part, it's about you getting really clear on what you want to be a master in, whether that's the discipline of working out and doing things that make you happy, if it's the discipline of being really, really good at one thing that makes you stand out in your business and in your life, the one thing that makes you stand out to people in your 9-to-5 job. It's about mastery, not so much about what new thing is happening and what's going on. So with that being said, I got a video that I think you'll probably like. You can click on here and check it out. It's on a 10x easier than 2x video. Kind of explains a little bit what we're talking about today, that the idea of growing your business isn't just about working harder, it's about working smarter. So I think that video you'll actually will like, and hopefully I'm pointing in the right direction. With that being said, really appreciate you checking out the video. Hopefully you can now avoid the shiny object syndrome, and I'll catch you all in the next video.